Well, I have a billion things I would love to pick your brain about, but we'll just focus on the one topic today, which is the drive-in shows. So, kind of start by telling us how the idea came up to do it. Was it presented to you guys to do it, or did you and Vince seek out doing a drive-in show?
Well, when all of this hit and the reality that once we got through the initial phase of realizing that we were going to more or less cancel the entire calendar for the rest of the year, we we immediately obviously tried to turn to, what if any options do we have to do, to do something even as different as it may look. The drive-in concept we talked about pretty early, but it was sort of at the point where we weren't sure if it was a good idea, first and foremost, just for being able to safely and effectively pull off the logistics in a way that keeps everybody, they kept everybody healthy. And so the drive-in concert isn't it's not a new invention, but obviously when you have a bunch of venues, it's not the first, it's not the normal route you would take. So we looked at it pretty early on. We were watching um, what a few other people were doing. We didn't feel like at the outset, we didn't feel like we could do it in a way that that sort of checked all the boxes for us, that met our standards with it for a while. Once we learned a little bit more about how the how the virus was spreading, what we 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 grew more and more comfortable with the idea of doing it. So we looked at about a half dozen before we finally settled on where we landed. And this one in particular, while we were looking at the idea, a promoter friend of ours also was looking at the same thing, and he was interested. So it's sort of a good match at that point. We felt like we were able to do it in a safe, responsible way.
Nice. And so was Chicago the reason to be there was because of the proximity for everyone, mostly everyone?
Yeah, getting the band together anywhere right now is difficult, just given that everybody lives truly coast to coast, from California to South Carolina and in between. So Chicago is centrally located. It also presented just some logistical simplifications of it's where the truck is here, our production gear, all of that stuff. So it felt like if we were going to do it, that um, doing it doing it here made the most sense for both travel reasons, logistic reasons, and financial reasons. Um, so, and then once it was a little bit of a proof of concept, the Chicago one, to see if we could do it, see if we could pull it off in a way that both was um, fun and enjoyable for the fans, but also safe and smart to do, and also enjoyable, obviously, for the band as well.
Yeah. So did you deliberately schedule Wrapped in the Round and the drive-in show for the same amount of time because logistically it was easier because everyone was together, or did it just happen that you had one planned and then the other one kind of came up?
No, we were working on both things at the same time, and we did try to get them to line up again so we could minimize travel. People only have to come into the city, come once and knock out a few birds with one stone, if you will. So we normally wouldn't ever combine, sort of like we did at Boondock, where during the days it was recording by day and with sort of your studio hat on, and then streaming by night for the Wrapped in the Round thing, and then the shows on the weekend. In ordinary times, we would never ever consider combining three different entities like that, just because they're very different headspaces and preparation that you kind of put yourself in for recording, where you're sort of secluded and you're focusing exclusively on writing, not about performing per se. But the reality of the hand we've been dealt, you got to be as smart about it to make sure that it's as efficient and cost effective as possible, because combining, being able to do multiple things in one window just helps reduce the friction all around.
It makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Try to get as much in as you possibly can at one time. So why is it drive in with two ends and not one? Is it just because of the promoters, the venue? What was the reason for that?
Yes, that's a good question, and there's not really a great answer. That was part of the series that our promoter promoter did, and they did it. They did it with two ends, and while there obviously wasn't sleeping accommodations or an inn on site, which is the when you would typically use the two ends, but we were pretty far down the road, and before we were like, why are we doing this again? So we're back to one end for Atlanta.
I had a couple people that were asking me. I'm like, I don't know, but I'll ask Kevin. Maybe he knows.
Yeah, that honestly, there were a thousand things to try to get in order, and it was a mad dash. And we already had the art done. I asked myself the same question. I didn't catch it until we were pretty far down the road. So no good answer.
That's pretty funny. So Mo had their drive-in thing scheduled in early August and then had it pulled out underneath them like day before or something. So when you heard about that, what was going through your mind while you were trying to plan this kind of the same event?
Well, the reality is that you got to take all of these things one day at a time, and you gotta hope for the best but expect the worst. And this isn't exclusive to putting on a concert or even the music business. I'm sure you feel it every day you wake up and you're like, oh boy, you look at the news and see the state of the world. And so we were fully prepared and still are fully prepared that anything could happen at any point. And there's nothing that we can do about that, at least on a broad scale. All we can do is control the elements that are within our ability to control. And if things arise outside of that, you just gotta roll with it. So we understood that there's a possibility that if a mandate came down from a city or a county or a state that wouldn't allow us to do it, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But we just try to take every precaution in advance and make sure that everybody all the way up the chain was had signed off and felt comfortable with it, and we were fortunate enough to be able to execute.
Yeah. Nice. So talk about setting everything up. Was there anything different about loading in?
No, honestly, the only fairly normal thing was the stage setup. That piece we've done 1,000 times, and our crew is spectacular. They could build it in their sleep. That was sort of the most normalcy about the whole thing. But obviously the audience and the crowd and looking out into a sea of cars and the horn honking and all of those other things was pretty surreal, but that's very much right in line with the times we're living.
For sure. There's a lot of surreal things that are going on now. So what were some of the safety measures that you guys had to have in place? Not just for obviously the audience and everything, but for the band and the crew behind the scenes?
Sure. I mean, it was important to us from the outset that we sort of led by example and not just ask people to do things that we weren't ourselves doing. Now, the reality is most of that doesn't get seen by anybody, but that doesn't make a difference. It's just about doing the right thing. So the combination of pretty meticulous planning on the travel piece of it, almost everybody drove that could. So we minimized the amount of flights. The biggest step is we had the entire band, crew, management, and even some of the people that we had spent the time at Ecto recording with that weren't necessarily part of the regular crew. We did rapid testing for everybody. So basically ensured that we were good there. But then still all the things that we should all be doing, which is, you know, wearing masks and keeping our distance whenever possible. And but it certainly obviously helps to have a series of negative test results from everybody around. It gives you a little bit of a peace of mind, but you still can't take anything for granted. So safety first.
For sure. What is something that was a concern either during planning or during the actual event that people might not actually think that was something of a concern?
Um, well, I think the biggest concern is just anytime you're doing something that's completely different, you don't have a playbook exactly to work out of, right? And that goes from the band's end, but also the promoter's end, security, all the staffing, you know, parking, just getting everybody into the venue, parking spaces, making sure that there's adequate distance, making sure that people understand the rules. And then when you do it like that, there's things that you don't necessarily you try to account for every possibility in advance, but it, you know, the world's a screwy place, and sometimes there were a few things like that happened along the way that, you know, some people who had bought premium arrived and there were a few less spaces than we thought there were, so they got stuck further in the back. And on night two we made sure to take care of those people and put them up front right before doors, just to try to rectify some of those things that no matter how hard you try, there's still going to be a few snafus. That the I would say that the biggest thing that maybe isn't um, understood is that doing it like that, doing a drive-in format is significantly more expensive to put on a show like that. Again, because of the things that you know, typically in most venues there's a stage and there are trusses and there are rigging points and there are existing bathrooms and concessions and like all the things that you use in a venue. You don't necessarily you know, a promoter can aggregate those costs over a series of shows or years, or they own the building. When you're building everything from scratch in the middle of a parking lot, it the cost of it really adds up. And then you layer on top the safety protocols that, again, a lot of people probably don't see or at least recognize, but you end up spending a lot of money to make sure that you're putting on, you know, as quality of a show as you can from the audio and visual perspective of it, but also doing it in a way that's safe. So that with all of these, that's a sizable hurdle for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure the amount of expenses behind the scenes that you guys have to do to make sure this is fine. And you guys are always so amazing about making it right for fans, whether it's an issue with merch or what you were saying about making sure people were in the right place. Like, you guys are always so good about making it right or fixing it or making it better for people. We're very lucky that you guys make that such a priority.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. We just do it like we want to be done too. You know, we're all music fans first and foremost, and when something goes wrong, you just do what you can to make it right, just like we would want if we were on the flip side of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on that note, we have such an amazing group of fans. That the vast majority of people are incredibly respectful and understand, and like some of those people who, you know, the people that we put up front, just as an example, those people were all super nice and courteous, and like they could have been, you know, they could have been assholes about it, and they were like, ah, it sucks, but like we get it. and and that kind of thing just makes you want to go the extra step to take care of people a lot more than somebody who you know, somebody who's flipping out over something that at the end of the day if we had the control to fix in real time, we always would, or we always do. So
Mm-hmm.
it helps to have such a such a quality fan base as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that you've got one drive-in show under your belt in Atlanta in a week and a half, and now the recently released Brendan and Jake at the drive-in, how do you feel about drive-in shows?
Um, I'm trying to embrace all of this stuff through the lens of where we are, and while while it has some drawbacks in terms of, we have we all compare it to our usual experience, right? Which inevitably means that it's just um, you're setting it up as a comparison. But not having that, we've got to you got to play the hand you're dealt and put on the best thing you can. And honestly, there were points walking around Chicago or just hanging out where it's like, wow, this feels so different. But you have, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, I'm like, it's not so bad to be with your handful of good friends. You got a ton of space. Nobody's crowding you. You drove in a cooler of, you're drinking and eating whatever you want. So I think there's a lot of pluses. At least those are the things that that I choose to focus on, because what's the good in complaining about it? Like, yeah, it doesn't have the same kind of energy necessarily, but I thought it was great, all things considered. So, do I think it's the sustainable model forever? No, but I don't think without a vaccine and without we got a long ways to go before anything that we deem normal is going to be possible. So until then, we'll keep turning over every rock and see what we can find under it and see what kind of makes sense. But as Atlanta's going to be the last one of the year for the band. That's just a practical function of weather. There's no trying to do anything inside is just not safe. It's not smart. And so, yeah, we're gonna sneak one more with just Brendan and Jake, and that's it. We are looking at doing maybe doing another version of Live from Boondocks or Wrapped in the Round in a new location, something before the year is out. But still kind of looking at options for that. So
Nice. Both of those were very awesome. So I really, really hope that comes through and happens again, because those were very awesome to watch.
which one did you prefer?
Well, I liked I call them the Boondock sessions, but I enjoyed Boondock, but I just have a soft spot in my heart for that location.
Sure.
But Wrapped in the Round was awesome too, because we got Ben Factor and Chris Mitchell working his magic, and so I liked them for different reasons.
Good. That's they were intentionally supposed to be sort of a 180 from each other, right? The
Yeah.
super low key, stripped down, no lighting, no nothing, and then something a bit more of elaborate of a production. So I'd like to keep making each one a unique item of its own, to keep, for the band and our own entertainment, but also for your guys' entertainment, that it's, we're not just doing the same thing over and over.
Right, absolutely. And that's something that you guys are really great at doing too, is coming up with new ideas anyway, but especially now when you have to come up with completely new ideas to do anything. I think it's amazing what you guys have been able to come up with.
We're mostly just trying to not make ourselves bored.
And that's what's important. Have you been to a drive-in show as a fan yet?
Just the two Umphrey's ones.
Okay.
But I have talked to a number of people who've been to a number of them, and I'm pleased to tell you and all your listeners that I've heard that Umphrey's fans by far have been the most respectful fans at a drive-in to date.
It's wonderful to hear. I'm so glad. I had no question in my mind that we would be able to pull it off, because we understand the importance of getting this right, because we want more of it. So
All right.
so we're like, okay, if we just got to wear a mask and behave, maybe we can get some more live music. We'll do it.
Indeed.
So what was the first thing that you needed to change when you were planning for Atlanta?
Well, I would say the couple of big changes are, one, while the concept of merchandise order online delivery to spots looked better on paper than it actually was able to execute in person, and it was a function of a bunch of small things that sort of piled up. A lot of orders in a very short period of time, and then just some miscues about not knowing exactly where people were parked, and people not putting in a row number or thinking they were in a certain row that they weren't. Or so that piece of it obviously didn't work as well as we had hoped. So we've kind of retooled that for Atlanta to have a much more fluid system, and people won't be going home without picking up merch they bought. So solve for that. Was intent on adding some additional delay towers, speakers, and additional screens in the back half of the lot, just to ensure that that the people towards the rear had as good of an experience as possible. I mean, the reality of how spread out it has to be in order to, observe the proper distancing and make sure that cars can get out as needed is, the reality is that puts the end of the cars pretty far away from the stage. But that is the reality of being able to do it, and all of the additional things. It costs a lot more money to be able to cover as big of a space as that is. But that was something that we really wanted to improve upon for Atlanta, which we will be doing. So those are the two big things that sort of come to my mind.
Nice.
The other thing was just mapping out the specificity of parking so people understand exactly where they're going to be in advance, so they can buy a specifically numbered spot in advance, and it's less. It eliminates the need to, park a car on the side of the road for 4 hours trying to get up front in a GA kind of scenario. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were really grateful that you guys decided to do that. They knew that it was going to ease a lot of worries the day of the show. So people were very grateful for that feature, for sure.
That was the intent. So glad to hear it.
So what does it look like for you the next week and a half as you head into Atlanta next weekend?
Well, it's a combination of, at this point, a lot of the items have been mostly taken care of. It's kind of a function of just running down the checklist to make sure that everybody whose jobs along the way to execute the various pieces of it are in place, and we've got everybody sort of eye to eye on all the nuts and bolts of making it run, which, honestly, a lot of that stuff, Vince and I handle the big picture stuff at the outset, get it in place, and then we've got, and then a lot of it gets then passed to our team, the rest of the crew that executes, on the show days themselves. So honestly, I've already been working on the Brendan and Jake driving thing, and then we've got a bunch of other music in the pipeline. So spent more time on that the last week once we got Atlanta figured out and on sale. So crossing the T's and dotting the I's for Atlanta while looking down the road into through the end of the year and into January.
So is there anything different prep-wise between doing a full band drive-in show and doing a Brennan and Jake drive-in show?
Yeah, Brendan and Jake are a lot simpler.
Right.
I mean, it's two guys and two acoustic guitars and two vocal mics. It's way more of a raconteur storytelling slash campfire sing along style. So it doesn't require nearly the amount of production or lighting. So it's a little simpler in that regard. It's also half the size, so it's a little smaller and more intimate. I feel much better about going into that one having what will be two full ones under our belt, because even for Atlanta, while I gave you a few of the big ones, there's 100 little things that we'll do differently to try to improve upon it. And then after Atlanta, we'll probably have another 100 more that we'll be like, oh, let's make this little tweak here, this little tweak there. And it's a lot of these things are just the sum of the parts.
Yeah. So I have one final question for you. What do you think the future of live music looks like?
Well, I don't know if I have one final answer for you on that. I think we are. I think in a best case scenario, we're well into the middle of 2021, if not later, before there is larger gatherings that are a little less spaced out. I'm concerned about we're fortunate enough that that we have built an audience and built a fan base and can weather the storm a little bit more than if even than we could have 5 or 10 years ago. And I worry about a lot of the independent clubs in all of our towns, because these are the places where bands cut their teeth, where they you hone your craft. And if I think about all the venues, that the hundreds and hundreds of shows that Umphrey's played at, those are the roots that you plant and where you water to grow. And without a lot of those venues may not be able to make it through the other side of this. And that's a concern just for the health of the both new artist development, as well as just a lot of iconic places that are important to having thriving music scenes and culturally diverse venues and promoters and events. So I hope that more of them than not are able to to figure out a way to sustain through and get through this, because I think it's essential to the ecosystem long term. And you don't want, while there's a couple big fish obviously on the promoting end, you don't want there's a lot of important work that happens on the local level and the regional level, and I want that to be there. But bigger macro picture, live music is never going to go away, and we all need it. We all thrive on it. And it's felt like a long time since we've had it, and it's going to be a while longer. And in the meanwhile, I think you're going to see a lot of productive and creative output, writing and recording across the board. I think you'll continue to see new and novel ideas to fill the void for both creative expression as well as the need to keep putting food on the table and putting our kids through school. And so we've got to we're all gonna have to keep figuring out ways to do it, to keep ourselves sane, and also to keep doing keep bringing it to you guys. So I think it's going to be a while, but I think in the end, it's, the power of community and the power of the live experience together is not something that is going to be able to be kept down for the long haul. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And Umphrey's is working on new music, I've heard.
that is true. There's there's a bunch of stuff over the course of a few different sessions from a few different places, and now we've got to sort of go through that pile and whittle it down and figure out where to focus the effort. So that's coming. There's another sort of side project coming at the same, working in parallel, which you'll know more about soon. There's obviously the Hall of Fame 2019 coming around the corner. So yeah, there's a lot coming your way. There'll be some updated video release stuff some stuff that people haven't seen, some 4K stuff. Working on trying to do some surround and Dolby Atmos stuff for a very immersive experience. So there's always a lot of irons in the fire.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Yeah, you guys are always, tinkering behind the scenes and working hard.
We do our best.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. I'll tell you, it's been so great to still get our satisfaction of live music and any way that we've been able to do it. And as you mentioned, music is healing and we all need it. So I appreciate all of the hard work that you've done always anyways, but especially now during this time when the world is crumbling and you're dealing with your own family things, but you're also working your ass off to keep everything afloat. So personally, I'm super grateful, and I know other fans are too. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We're also very grateful for all of you. So we're all in it together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nice chatting with you.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me, and I'm happy that you're finally going to be on the show. Thank you.
All right, good chatting.
All right, take care. Have a great day.
You too.